Despite my excellent record of 11-4, it is now week 12, and for those of you who don't know, which I presume is every single person watching, 12 is not a very cool number with me. It's actually a very unlucky number. So I'm predicting that some absolutely funky shit is gonna happen this week. Let's just get right into it. We finally got a decent game for Thursday Night Football, Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans. This game will really give us an idea of where the Texans stand in the food chain because up to this point they've mostly been beating on traffic cones. And the Bills are indeed not that. The Texans just went against the Titans in a much closer game, but they still came away with this one as well. Davis Mills looked like an adequate quarterback, and everyone else looked adequate as well. Texans just got to work on that third down conversion rating because it's not good. They'll be defending against the Bills, who just had a pretty nice back and forth game against the Buccaneers that they did end up winning. The Texans could surprise us. It's not impossible for them to win this game, but I am going to vote for the Bills because they're just the better team. They're hot, and I just don't think the Texans are at Bills level yet. Next, you got the iconic Minnesota Vikings versus the Green Bay Packers matchup. The Packers came away with a plain Jane victory against the Giants. Meanwhile, the Vikings somehow managed to lose to the Bears at home. J.J. McCarthy again not looking too great. And at this point, I'm convinced that it's up for the Vikings. Any playoff hopes that were had are gone now. Don't worry about them. The Vikings are out of here. They were just too disorganized this season and in a very competitive NFC conference that, you know what I mean? There's minimal mercy for you. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Packers to win this game. It's being played in Lambeau, and the Packers just look like a more complete team right now. However, they haven't shown that against a couple of teams that they should have whooped, but again, I think they'll beat the Vikings this time. Next, you get the New York Jets versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Jets lost as per usual, and now they have Tyrod Taylor starting at quarterback, I guess, if that means anything. They'll be taking on the Ravens, who are on their way back to relevancy as they hit 500 on their standings sheet again. The Ravens didn't look too pretty against the Browns. It was kind of an ugly win, but hey, they got it done. And even though they're not quite 100% yet, going against a Jets team, this should still be a free win for Baltimore. I think they will win this game. And if they lose this game, then I can't take them seriously for the rest of the season either. Next, you get the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Chicago Bears. The Bears, as I said, took down the Vikings on the road. Meanwhile, the Steelers put the Bengals on a leash and tamed the beast because it wasn't a close game. Aaron Rodgers did suffer a wrist injury during that game, so we'll see if he ends up playing. It is unclear at the time of recording this. And taking on the Bears, who are surprisingly looking consistent, this will be an interesting matchup. I'm just going to risk it and pick the younger Bears team to win this game. Because whether or not Aaron Rodgers plays, either way, there's going to be a slight quarterback hindrance in the backfield. And I feel like it'll rock the Steelers' flow even just a little bit, allowing the Bears to breeze on by with the victory. That's what I think will happen. Next, you got the New England Patriots versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals, as I just said, got embarrassed by the Steelers, and I lost a little bit of respect for Jamar Chase after seeing him spit on another man. What is with folks and spitting on other people this year? They'll be defending against a Patriots team that essentially got a free win off of the Jets last Thursday night. The Patriots' immaculate win streak continues, and there is no shot in hell that Cincinnati is going to be the ones to stop it. Patriots win. Next, you got the New York Giants versus the Detroit Lions. Starting with the Giants, they put up yet another valiant effort and a close game against another team, this time the Packers. But after the loss, they would go on to fire Brian Daboll. I personally am neutral on that decision. I think everyone on the Giants should get fired and just cleanse the entire franchise and start over. They'll be taking on a Detroit Lions team that suffered a heartbreaking loss at the hands of a bullshit penalty at the end of the game. Absolutely horrible officiating. But that doesn't make the Lions squeaky clean or anything like that because they played like hot ass for the majority of that game. Like, the Detroit Lions did not look like themselves at all. It was a pitiful performance. The only thing the Lions did somewhat properly was nothing. Jared Goff's getting his ass beat back there. They can't get a run game going. It's just, wow. Fortunately, however, they are taking on about as light as an opponent can get this season. This should be a easy slam dunk victory for Detroit. Next, you got a very interesting game, the Indianapolis Colts versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts just came off of their bye week, but the last time we seen them on the field, they took down the Falcons in a thriller that went to overtime. Jonathan Taylor had 240 plus yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns on top of it. Just one of the best performances by a running back this season so far. But the Chiefs just last week took on the Broncos in Denver and lost, despite the Broncos losing over 140 yards to penalties. Interesting. I'm telling you, this is a different Chiefs team. They're just not as scary as what we're used to seeing. Mahomes isn't looking like himself. You know what I mean? Just there's nothing to really fear here. Meanwhile, the Colts, they're a team that's been dominating. This is a dangerous team that the Chiefs are going against. And even though it's being played in Arrowhead, I'm going to pick the Colts to win this one. The Colts have just been on fire for the most part. And I don't think a washed-up looking Chiefs team is going to be, hand them a loss. So I'll just pick Indianapolis for this one. Next, you got a bit of a snooze fest. The Seahawks taking on the Titans in Tennessee. The Titans look typically poor against their division rival and then lost. They also lost Calvin Ridley for the rest of the year. With Calvin Ridley's injury, I feel like I've been reminded that he still exists just to be told that I can forget about him again. Meanwhile, the Seahawks show another flash of fraudulence with their loss to the Rams. The Rams even tried to hand them the game towards the end there, and they just couldn't do it. I don't want to hear, oh, the Rams are a good team. You got to beat a good team to be a good team. But Seattle should pick up another easy win here, just padding their standings, I guess. Really want to see them beat an actual opponent soon here, though. Next, you got the Jaguars taking on the Cardinals in Arizona. The Jaguars, to my surprise, just completely fucking steamrolled the Chargers. And while that was happening, the 49ers were busy driving the dagger into the hopes and dreams of the Cardinals making the playoffs this year. After that loss, I'm done with the Cardinals. I've seen enough from them. It's another throwaway year for them. They just can't do anything right. Disorganized, you know what I mean? Now taking on a Jaguars team that's looking decent so far. I got the Jaguars winning this one. I really have nothing more to say. Next, you got... Wow. You got this bullshit here. I guess we'll just start with the Raiders. They suffered an expected loss to the Cowboys. Nothing surprising there. But what was surprising was that Geno Smith was their leading rusher with 14 yards. When you have 2 running backs named Raheem Mostert and Ashton Genty, they combined for less than 20 yards. Both of those guys combined couldn't even reach 20 yards. It was that bad. And I'm supposed to believe they're going to do something against this top-tier Browns defense. Speaking of the Browns, they finally let Shedeur Sanders get some play time. Unfortunately, he would go on to throw an interception and 12 incompletions, so very rocky start for the young buck. I'm not sure if he'll be playing in this game, but I don't think he needs to. I don't think it matters who they put back there at quarterback. It's going to be real easy to beat the Raiders. And I'm willing to make a bonus prediction that the Raiders won't even score 14 points this game. Cleveland's got this one, or they should. Next, you get a good game. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Cowboys in Dallas. The Cowboys, as I just said, got a free win off of the Raiders. Meanwhile, the Eagles come away with yet another underwhelming win, this time against the Lions. Excellent defense by Philadelphia, but the offense is just, I don't know what's going on there. Nothing's clicking. The run game is barely present. The pass game is subpar. The Eagles did also lose Lane Johnson for a few weeks, so obviously he will not be playing this game. Would it be silly for me to pick the Cowboys to win this one? Because they typically split with the Eagles. Maybe not that last year, but generally they split with the Eagles, the home team taking the win. And it's being played in Dallas. Eagles aren't looking in tip-top shape. I don't think it's totally unreasonable to pick the Cowboys here. So I am going to pick the Cowboys here to take down the Eagles. Cowboys defense has been looking pretty solid these past couple of weeks. They should be able to handle this recently poor Eagles offense this game. Next you got, oh my god, I don't want to see any of these logos right now. Falcons versus Saints. From their bye week, the Saints watched as the Falcons got swept by the Carolina Panthers, and losing Michael Penix and Drake London in the process. The Falcons are one Bijan Robinson away from looking like the Saints, just with some red to their color scheme. I'll pick the Falcons, I guess. I I can't even tell you. I don't think this is a predictable game, to be honest with you. But I'm picking Atlanta just because Bijan Robinson's supposed to be playing, so. For Sunday Night Football, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be taking on the LA Rams. The Rams did their typical dominate until we realized that we're doing too much, and then let our opponent back into the game towards the end to make the match closer than it has to be. They were beating on Seattle for the most part, then towards the end they just kind of let them back into it. Don't know why that's a fucking recipe in their victory playbook. But they'll be taking on the Buccaneers, who, again, another respectable loss, this time to the Buffalo Bills. Tampa Bay did everything they could. They just simply got outplayed. Wasn't really too many faults to point at here. This is a great game for both teams because whoever wins, that's another worthy trophy, worthy badge that they get to walk around with until the playoffs. And as a spectator, I of course am just hoping for a good game, which both teams have been good at delivering. But I'm gonna have to pick the Rams to win. They just seem like the more precise, organized, less injured, and deadly team, if you will, both offensively and defensively. And finally, for Monday Night Football, the Carolina Panthers will be taking on the San Francisco 49 Injuries. I'm gonna have to stop calling them the 49 Injuries pretty soon here because they're getting a lot of their folks back. Speaking of the folks coming back, the gang's all here. It's looking great, at least on the offense. The offense is looking like its normal self. George Kittle, Brock Purdy, that connection is back, and they connect for a couple of TDs. Now, granted, it's against the Arizona Cardinals, so we don't want to hype them up too much. I'm just saying it's a nice little bounce back recovery for San Francisco during these hard times for them. Overall, they're just looking much more stable, and they'll be taking on a Panthers team who at first glance looks like a joke and it should be an easy win. I don't know, because they just came off a game against the Falcons where they dropped 30 points on that team twice. And Bryce Young just woke up that day and decided, I'm going to throw for damn near 450 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. So he played like a fucking warrior. And going against this Niners defense, again, I've said it before, the D-line of San Francisco is solid. It's nice. It's when you get to that secondary and the linebackers when shit gets shaky and, you know what I mean, very, very uncertain. And that end of the defense is really going to have to lock in against a quarterback that just dropped over 440 yards throwing the ball. I will pick the 49 Injuries to win. I do think they're the better team. And like I said, they're getting a lot of their players back, and they look like they're getting back into shape. You know, this might be one more little warm-up game before, they start really firing on all cylinders. I just don't see San Francisco losing this one. I think they got this victory. Again, this is week 12, and the number 12 is like my arch nemesis. Anything involving the number 12 is usually a bad omen for me, so I'm expecting this week to go about 7-7. Anything above 7-7 is a victory in my eyes.